Hey, what's up, guys? This is Adam with TAT. We're gonna talk about DPFs. I'm gonna wait for a little bit to get. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get on. So, hope everybody's doing good. Chat should be working up here. Hey, if you guys are viewing, shoot me a test chat. I want to make sure my chat's working up here. Hey, what's up, Riley? I appreciate that. We're gonna be talking DPF maintenance today, guys. What's up, guys? Adam with TAT. We're going to be talking DPF maintenance today. I hope everybody's doing well. If you got any questions, this is going to be a live. As you know, my lives, I always plan. I don't, gang, what's up? I don't always plan on going too long on here. What's up, Brandon? But we're going to be talking about DPF maintenance, how to stay out of the shop, what you need to be doing. Appreciate everybody's support. I'm glad everybody's jumping on tonight. You know, it's Sunday. Tomorrow we got to go to work. Pretty sure a lot of people have already out there working. What's up for 433? So we're gonna be talking DPF maintenance. And one thing I want to mention about DPF maintenance is your oil. You know, I get a lot of people that come into the shop and they're talking about their oil changes and how often they're running their oil changes. And I understand how if you go on you know, OEM's website, manufacturer's website, it's going to tell you, hey, go 30, 40,000, that this engine can do this much. But you need to read the fine prints. You need to read the fine prints, because the fine prints is going to tell you some items that's going to be very important, and that's going to be running an oil analysis. Running an oil analysis is very important. If you're running extended oil changes and you're not running an oil analysis, it's very risky. It's very risky. If you look at all the literature that's going to tell you on OEM, hey, if you're running 40,000, 50,000, be sure to run a oil analysis program. Now, this is going to be easy. You can find somebody. You can find somebody online and you can mail them your oil. It's going to be very simple. They make it very simple, but if you're not doing this and you're losing oil or you're burning oil and you're pushing your oil further than it's actually designed to go, and you're idling a lot, idling is very important. Is going to be the next item I'm going to move over to, and I'm going to talk more about DPF maintenance. And shout out to everybody. I appreciate everybody's coming on. What do you think of the 2004 Freightliner Cascadia automatic transmission? Start off for local. A lot of the units are being ordered automatic because it's just easier to drive. So and what I have seen is a lot of the manufacturers, the truck orders is what they call them, are just exceeding numbers every month after month. So truck orders are very high. If you're looking at 2014, check out my other videos about preparing yourself to buy a used truck, and check that video out and educate yourself more, especially about these after treatment systems. If you're gonna buy a truck that doesn't have the maintenance that's been done at 300,000 miles, whether it's gonna be a DPF cleaning, if they're not doing their oil changes at a close interval, if they're not doing the oil analysis as I mentioned, you can get into a truck that has a problem. And even though it could be even a lease, and they're trying to get you into a good truck, because I see a lot of deals happening where they're trying to get people into the trucks because it's very important. They need drivers. Drivers I mean, this is nothing new. You know, driver demand's always been there, but with this pandemic, it's just really has really made the demand even more. Hey, I appreciate that like, guys. Make sure to like the video. Share the video. As you know, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information about after treatment systems. This is probably something that I want to do more regular because, as I mentioned, oil is very important. Someone just mentioned he's getting to an automatic. That's very those are very common now. Very common automatics. My DD15 is coming up to 500K. DPF is due for a cleaning. Riley, go ahead and get that done. Don't push that off. Don't wait for a check engine light, because usually if you wait for a check engine light, it's going to cost you more money, because that's when you're probably going to need more service done. It's going to take you more time down. if you can, what I want to mention is about after treatment systems, and this is going to go about, you know, Cummins and Volvos. We're gonna stick with DD15. What's up, man? We're gonna stick with DD15s, but with DD15s, what you want to make sure is get the DOC checked out as well. Now, the way that the one box is designed is the DOC is made into the one box, and I have a DPF video if you want to check that out. It's an older video, and I would like to do an update on that. If you look at that filter, it actually was pushed out. The DOC was. Now the DOC, it looks exactly like the DPF filter. It's part of the one box system, but it's the first section of the filter, but it's fixed onto the filter. So if you avoid getting this clean, or if you neglect getting this clean, you're gonna have it's called a face plug, or a face plug. If I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing this face plug. Excuse me. Anyway, you're gonna have your face clogged on the filter, and the reason why I'm saying it like this is because Cummins. I'm trying to recall how Cummins calls it out, and Cummins calls it out like this because if you have it a lot of times on your particular filter for a DPF filter, unfortunately you have to replace those filters, and it sucks because on DD15 sometimes you can go more. I would say 2 intervals. After that, you're probably gonna have to get some DOCs replaced. Don't go too much further than 500. If you're calling for 500, you know 500 is coming up. You need valve adjustments done, and actually it's before 500. I want to say it's 400, and I'll put up a DPF maintenance. If you want to go to my website and you look up your engine, I have intervals that you can download there for everybody's engine there, and I don't recall exactly on the Cummins, but anyway, what I was mentioning on the Cummins, if you do get that particular code that you have a DOC that's plugged, unfortunately you have to replace that. And with Volvos, you know, when they have these scanners that you know, I had a viewer on chat mention one of these scanners before that you can get to reset. Look at that D13 DPF video that I've let out. Those filters there are very particular, so you can damage the DOCs on those as well. So if you got a clogged filter, or if your filter's detecting soot and you're not getting it checked out, then you can have some issues. Now, and I bring up soot because it all can happen from upstream. If you have some issues going upstream, if you're running your oil changes too long and you're actually burning more oil than you need, check your oil between oil changes. If you're burning more than, I would say, if you're burning more than a gallon of oil between oil changes, go ahead and get your truck checked out. You know, that's a lot of oil. If you're consuming that much oil and you don't have a lot of oil leaks and you have an after treatment system, get that checked out. Appreciate everybody's on chat. Chat seems very live today. What's up? I hate my auto. I prefer my manual. You know, Philip. The newer autos are pretty nice now, man. The newer autos, I really like them. They put a lot of work into developing the technology. They're not like, it's weird because Eaton is still manufactures most of the transmissions, but the design, like Volvo's design and Detroit's design, is a lot smoother. But I can understand if you're used to running manual, that's very hard to get used to on an automatic. But you got to understand, a lot of fleets are ordering them this way. It's just easier to get drivers in them, and it's taken the driver, the mistake a driver could make if they're either downshifting and they can over rev their engine and cause some damage, cause a lot of wear. Guys, hit that like button and make sure to share my content, guys. If you know somebody that's just got in the trucking industry, if they got a truck. If you are a diesel mechanic, or if you are a service writer as well, as you know, we're opening up a new shop here in Dallas. We're very excited about that, and I'm looking for a service advisor, and we're looking for some more technicians. So apply, guys. We're gonna be working hard to fill that position, and we're very excited about adding some team members on. What's up, Chad? I'm gonna get everybody here. I know everybody's here. Penske maintenance history. That's good. As long as they're doing it, that's good. And I'm glad you're getting that maintenance because, I hate, they're making it really easy to get into trucks. They're making it really easy for drivers to get in trucks. Okay, let me try to catch up to some of these comments here. How do I schedule an appointment and bring my truck into DPF cleaning maintenance? Give us a call. 972-225-3017, or you can email us at info@tatexpressinc.com. We are working to get everybody in on the schedule, so just give us a shout. We'll give you a heads up. Well, if you want to get maintenance done, just make sure to list everything you guys need when you come in. You know, I know you guys maybe have a list or something. Make sure to turn that into us whenever you come in, because we like to, if everything that we get on your list, we like to get that done. And if anything is added, you know, it kind of delays everything. But what's going on? Should we get a new DPF or get it clean? X15 Cummins, what's the cost? Well, if you're having a lot of faults on your DPF, and we're talking about Cummins, I just spoke about this. If you're doing a lot of idling, this is gonna cause some problems, guys. If you're doing a lot of idling, you're doing these long oil change intervals, and you don't have an oil analysis program in place. If you're not checking your oil, okay, I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus, but just check all this out, okay? If you're at 482K, if you're doing a lot of idling and you need that cleaning done, get it done. If you're getting a lot of codes about the filter giving you some faults, and it's possible that you might have to get that replaced. And it's the same thing with Detroit, and it's the same thing with Volvo. You can only use these filters so often, and they completely restrict any kind, or you know, they don't recommend any kind of idling. And it's tough, guys, because I know you guys got to sleep in it. And I'm glad you brought up the X15, because it's funny. I see some people on chat, or I see some people on my comments on my channel, and I try to keep up with everybody's comments. But guys, you know, an X15 is a newer design Cummins. And you got the older design Cummins does have a dual overhead cam, but the X15 has a single overhead cam, so that's a newer design. I didn't want to go back and forth on the Cummins video, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah, but if you're having a lot of problems with that, check it out. Let me see. In your opinion, is the optimized item system on the Cascadia's effective system, and when it's still short in the life of the DPF for the one box? Well, I'm gonna tell you, idling the system is going to create a lot of soot, because of course everyone knows that the truck is just idling and you're not burning all that diesel off. And if all that diesel's not being burned off, it ends up creating soot, and that soot just goes downstream, ends up clogging up sensors that it's reading pressures, like your intake sensor, everything like that, and it ends up causing problems downstream, and it's over time. And what I notice is, what I've noticed is, like, the EPA, of course, is going to continue to make their guidelines of zero emissions, but now they're making it that they want that zero emissions to be further upstream, which that means that's coming out of the cylinder needs to be less NOx, which is basically what I'm trying to get to. On maintaining this system, you have to keep your engine maintained, because if your engine's not maintained, you're creating a lot of soot. Then it's going to end up going downstream. You're going to have all these problems. Back to idling. Idling is just not good for it. You're going to cause a lot of buildup on the face of the filter, and it sucks, because I know you guys have got to sleep in the truck. It's got a sleeper on it. You got to get APU. It's more investing, but that's just what it is. If you idle your truck more, it's just going to end up building up more soot, not only in the after treatment system, but it's going to build up a lot of soot in your cylinder. And when it does that, ends up, you know, it does it so much that they've already designed different cylinder designs that are going to try to keep it, you know, with scrapers on them to keep that buildup from happening. But it still happens. It still happens. And idling's gonna happen. Even if bumping up your idle is the same, it's the same thing. An APU would probably be your best bet right now. So I mean, I know it's not cheap, and it's just something else to maintain. But guys, if you're gonna sleep in your truck, it's gonna be one of the best options you're gonna have. Should we just get a new DPF or get it clean? I think I got that one. The DPF filter got changed at 400K at one box. Okay, so if your filters already got changed at 400K, you shouldn't have it need service until another 400K. If you're having it within that time, then you may have to check into seeing if you have if your engine is producing more soot. Shout out to everybody that's watching tonight. Make sure to hit that like button. I see chat is lit. Chat is lit. Let me do this share screen real quick. Share screen right here. You can see everybody that's on right now. I'm trying to go through all these comments right here. So I'm still here. Oh, I think I lost the feed. I shouldn't have did that. I think I lost the feed. Anyway, guys, if the DPS replacement, a DIY job, okay, Riley, if you don't have the equipment, if you don't have the computer, if you don't have the tools to do a one box replacement, I wouldn't suggest doing it. I wouldn't suggest doing it. No, it's not a do it yourself. It's gonna be time consuming. By the time you have to take these DPF filters apart, you're gonna need you're gonna end up breaking bolts. It's gonna happen. You're gonna need a whole shop set up. At least a floor jack. I would like to do a video. I'll do a video on this, on how to replace it, so you can see it. But it's a big mechanism you have to take apart. And if you try to take shortcuts, you can actually leave leaks on the system. And if that happens, then man, you're talking about having to rework it, which is way too much. It's way too much work. Nobody likes to rework it, especially if you have a leak. And as I mentioned, if you don't have the computers and you don't do the resets, you're gonna end up just having check engine. It's still gonna be derating. And one thing I want to mention to you, Volvo guys, you have that option of removing that sensor on the output of your transmission. I don't suggest you do this. Okay, this will let the truck continue to drive, but what this is gonna allow you to do is continue to build up back pressure by just loading that filter up with soot. The reason why you have a check engine light is because something's detected, and I know it's frustrating, but something's detecting that you're either building up too much soot or something's going on, with the filter reading. Okay, so if you ignore that and you disconnect the sensor and you are making excessive soot, what's happening is you're building up a lot of back pressure that's putting a lot of pressure on that turbo, and then here you're gonna have a failed turbo as well. Now I know it's tough to keep having to maintain these type of systems, but I want to just educate you guys, because if you're gonna keep pushing these systems, it's gonna end up just costing you more money. The idling, I know it sucks to hear, but it's just killing your trucks, guys. It's killing your trucks, in my opinion. Okay, I appreciate that question. Riley. Chat is lit tonight. I appreciate everybody jumped on. Philly, guys, if you know anybody in the DFW area that's a service advisor that has a lot of or has experience in the customer service industry, or a technician that is looking for something new, tell them to give us a shout, 972-225-3017, or come by the shop. Francisco can will interview you, or we can collect your information. Make sure to anybody that has applied, make sure to check out your emails. Shout out to everybody that's online with us tonight. Appreciate everybody's coming in. Let me finish up with everybody's chat. Everybody's got a lot of input. I appreciate everybody's input here on chat, man. It's live. Let me see if you might like it. Try it. Follow. 2019 Peterbilt 579 fleet. More than likely, you're going to be running Cummins. What kind of PM programs are you running over there, Philip? I appreciate your Philip says he's got a Peterbilt fleet. Let me know what type of intervals are you running to keep your trucks on the road. Nice to see you going live again. Yes, Aguilar, me too. I'm happy to go live. I'm going to share some more insight with you guys on why lives actually started coming offline. But once we get everything settled, I'm going to keep moving along. I want to give you guys more information about your after treatment system. So, and also just last week, last week was I don't want to spend too much time. I know, guys, if you don't know, I'm here in Dallas, Texas. And last week we had a freeze and it was awful, guys. It was super awful. I wish we would have got more of a heads up, kind of like the Amber Alerts that we get on our phones, just to let us know, hey, you know what, you may not have power. You're gonna be below freezing for at least a week, and you may not have power. I would have definitely prepared a lot more. And it's frustrating because later on I started to see in some feeds, and I won't spend too much time on this. I started to see on some feeds that there was a specialist, and this guy's a weather specialist, and he came and he warned our lead officials, our governor, our senator, everybody, hey guys, you're not gonna have enough power. This can be devastating. And So if I went back and I looked at local news and I went back on Facebook and I kind of looked and see what they were broadcasting at that time, and they did say, hey, it's gonna get cold, but there were Mexican channels that were being like more informative, a week before the freeze happened, and letting people know, hey, you know what, how to avoid freezes. And I don't know. And it didn't help that week I wasn't trying to look at news too often. I was trying to cut down on stress, so that might not have helped. But shout out to everybody that was concerned about us. I appreciate everybody's concern, all the comments. I saw that. I wasn't able to get back to everybody's comments on that, but appreciate everybody's concerns. I've been to your shop 4 times, still haven't got to meet you, but you're solid, great work. I appreciate that, Edward. One day you'll meet me. A lot of times I'm working on processes of the shop. We're trying to keep everything moving, making sure we don't lack anything at the shop. Getting the input from everybody to try to keep everybody moving. It's foolish not to use an APU, Riley. If a lot of trucks aren't made with APUs, and APUs, I can understand. We're talking about maintenance. We're talking about DPF maintenance. We're talking about cleaning the filter, and I want to get back to that. But I like everybody's comments. I like everybody's questions. I want to be able to cover everybody and don't get too far behind on these questions. But for example, for a Volvo, you're gonna have a little bit more of maintenance when it comes to the DEF. So at 150 on a Volvo engine, you're gonna have to replace the dozer. You're gonna have to replace the dryer. You're gonna have to make sure that you don't have any condensation going in your air, because it's gonna mess your dozer up. And what that's gonna do is end up throwing NOx codes, and if those are ignored, it ends up just cooking up the NOx and our SCR. You just start having a lot of issues later on down the road. So make sure you're paying attention to your check engine lights and getting your intervals done. You can check all your intervals online. You can check all your intervals if you have a Cummins, if you have a Volvo, if you have a Detroit. You can look them all up online. The only thing that I would advise for you on the oil, make sure you read the fine print. Okay, the fine print are going to have API specs that are API oil specs, and make sure you are following those specs. Okay, if you short those specs, then you're gonna definitely start having some problems on your after treatment systems. And if you buy a problem truck, if you buy a truck that doesn't have a good after treatment system or a good maintenance record, it's possible you're gonna have some after treatment problems. Okay. Hey, just wondering if you hire a guy like me, not a real mechanic, but I know a thing or two. FLD, come on by, man. Come on by if you're in the area. Come on by. Talk to the manager, Francisco. He'll talk to you, man. Let him know what you know, and we'll give you a shot, man. And talk to Francisco. We do need somebody with some experience. So let me see what you know, man. Let me see what you're looking for, and we'll just go from there. Volvo won't lower the suspension to hook up the trailer. Any idea what it could be? That's kind of like a part of a question that I missed. Did I miss the first part of that question? Won't lower the suspension. If Volvo's not doing any kind of custom work on it, that's probably, they don't want to lower this. The trucks are already low. Freightliner Cascadia DD13 engine idle goes up and down. What should it look for? That's going to be a quantity control valve on your high pressure pump. If you have high mileage, I would probably suggest the whole pump. If you have high mileage, it's just an expensive part. I got a DPF filter cleaned on my EPA 07. Okay, an EPA 07 Cascadia, I haven't had a high soot level codes cleared or reset. I have going 5K miles so far. What do you think? I'm okay. The filter clog backed up. That's an older system is what I was going to mention. EPA 07, it is a little bit of an older system. You've done already 500K after a cleaning. You haven't had a check engine light. I would say you're probably good there, Jay. What did you did? You have to reset the codes. You have to reset the counter on the computer. Hello, Adam. If my truck DPF is bypassed, will it cause a low engine power? I get a lot of trucks at the shop, guys, and I'm trying to get this. I want to complete this video. I'm going to try to get it out this week. I've been trying to. What's up, transport? But what I want to mention is, man, deletes. You got to be really careful about deletes, guys. I want to inform you guys more and more about deletes. I know a lot of information gets put out there about deletes, and man, I get a lot of guys at the shop that show up after deletes and they got low power, and we got a checklist. We got a checklist that we go by when we got a low power report that comes into our shop. And the checklist is always gonna have that if the truck has been deleted, and if it's not gonna be 100%, but I would say a high percentage of the trucks that come in with low power complaints got a delete done recently, or the power was lost after the delete. And what happens is, and this is why I want to get this video together for you guys, because deleting the system is a gamble, guys. You're rolling the dice. And right now with the truck demand and the way that the work is going, you can't afford to put a cheap patch on something that's going to end up costing you an engine. And the reason why I say that is because most of the time it is going to be a head or a cylinder that's got messed up during the tuning. It's either overfueled or something's not working correctly, and it ends up damaging the engine. So and when you ask me this thing, when you say, hello Adam, if the truck as a DPF is bypassed and it's caused low engine power boost up a hill, yeah, we hear that a lot. It's possibly it could be the problem. There are some things that we check for, but we don't want to dig too far into these engines that have a bad delete, and we don't want to dig too far and we can't find the issue because of a bad delete. And it ends up getting pricey, and by the time the guys make it to the shop, you've already seen a lot of shops. Let me see here. 4450 with Paccar and auto. I hate it. Paccar is a good engine, man. It's a little expensive, but Paccar is a good engine. I don't really care to work on them too much. They're really tight. I would say really tight, very tight. If you ever see the clearance on the air compressor to the chassis on a Paccar, man, it's tight. Anything on a Kenworth is tight. Like, I really don't like working on Kenworth personally, but shout out to everybody that get that Kenworth work done. Mendoza, what's the price range on the ISX15 in-frame overhaul? It just depends. If overhauls are really tricky. We do a lot of overhauls, but at the same time, we can put a lot of time into that. And if your truck is like, if the engine is like really wore out, sometimes it's not worth rebuilding those engines. A lot of times in that ISX15, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because I saw this article that talked about engine manufacturers, right? And it was talking about just different designs that they were coming up with. And one thing caught my attention about warranty, and about how they want to design an engine that would fall out of warranty, and that engine wouldn't be any good after it would fall out of warranty. Everybody hit that like button. Everybody that's watching, hit that like button. So anyway, the article was talking about, how they was, that's how they were designing the engine. And it kind of made sense to me, because if you look at the DD15 and you look at the ISX15, or, these newer platforms, sometimes it's just not worth rebuilding. A lot of times, yeah, these guys can slap these engines together, and anybody can put a DD15 together, outside. But I'm gonna tell you, if you tore the engine down and did a lower end check, and you check those lower end bearings, you're gonna see a lot of scratches from debris. And that's not something that's safe to run on the road with, because once that debris is in there, and it's possible your engine could run for a little bit, but it's possible once you get that debris built up, you can have a spun bearing. You can check out some of my other videos. I never hear any complaints about Paccar. Is it because it's good? Most of the time, because you don't have any options but going to the dealer with Paccar, so there's not a lot of Paccar talk out there. But they're pricey trucks. They're pricey trucks. They're nice, but they're pricey trucks. And the only thing about Kenworths is that you have to not only have Paccar software, but you have to have ESA software. You have to be able to talk to the chassis as well, because sometimes you have a lot of problems with chassis modules not communicating with engine modules, and dash lights coming up, and clusters not reading correctly. Shout out to everybody on chat. Chat's super live tonight. Everybody hit that like button. Share the videos, guys. Share the videos, and appreciate everybody's support. I like everybody's questions here. Transport, what's up, man? Long time no see. Transport says, hey, how many miles X15 have you gotten in your shop? Are you staying reliable or not due to the new changes? My friend has a fleet of X15s. They say they have too many crankcase pressure codes. Well, they eliminated the crankcase pressure sensor, and anytime they come out with new platforms, it's going to take them a little time. It's anytime. Like if you look at the DD15, the late models, the newest ones, they haven't changed too much on it. They're not removing crankcase filters or stuff like that. I'm not sure what we're getting into the shop is mostly after treatment stuff. I haven't seen crankcase pressures. If he is getting that type, I wonder if he got them at the same time. If he got those trucks at the same time, if he got them at a group, maybe if he bought them from a fleet. That's pretty interesting that all of them's happening at the same time. Looking into buying my first truck. I'm debating on getting a Cummins ISX15 or a DD15. What's your experience? What would you recommend? I appreciate the advice. God bless. David, I don't, it just depends. If you check out my videos. I would look for something that has a good maintenance history. If you can get something, if you can get a DD15 or a good ISX15, either one of those can be good work trucks. ISX15 is going to be an older truck. A DD15, depending on what year, how much you want to spend, it's tough, man. I don't want to advise you wrong, guys, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be really tough to find a good truck, man. It's going to be really tough. Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. If you look at where the truck orders are, that means how many new orders of trucks are being put into the manufacturers, and they keep up with these numbers. It's exceeding every month. Yeah, it dropped right after the pandemic. It dropped, but every month it's just exceeding. So what that means is there's a high demand for trucks right now. And with all these natural disasters that happened, with Texas shutting down like it did last week, I mean, Texas shut down, man. It shut down. You could not move around. You could not move around in Dallas. It was just dangerous. It was this thick of ice. It was probably about this thick of ice. It gets thicker and thicker every time the days go by. This thick of ice, and then about that, I mean, I don't know how much snow was on top of that. So you're driving on ice and snow. And I know Texas is not used to shutting down like that. It's just not used to shutting down. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but we already were backlogged with work. We already were backlogged. So all this did was just create more of a backlog. So shout out to the extreme weather. I guess that's why all the big heads are going to check on all the weather. Why Bezos and Bill Gates are all out there worried about climate control. They're saying that's what climate control does. So, we talk about climate, I say climate control because of EPA, but I wanted to mention more about hydro here in a minute. Let me catch up to all these questions here. Let me get some water. David, it's your first truck, then I recommend DD15. Parts are a lot cheaper, etc. There you go. I mean, that's from somebody that owns a truck, and I'm not saying I'm always for DD15. I'm just saying if you're new to the industry, yeah, DD15 is going to just be a little bit lighter on the pocket. It's not going to hold the value, but you got to educate yourself when you're buying, because if you don't have a lot of information on these systems, you're going to buy a truck and you're going to have to spend some money on these after treatment systems. So let me see why. I don't know why this one here. Trying to catch up to everybody's comment, guys. I just cleaned my DPF filter. My truck started to do a lot of regens. Okay, if it's asking to do a lot of regens, Joel, where'd you get it done? If you got it done at the shop, go ahead and take it back to them. More than likely, something's leaking. The way that the filters work is it runs off a differential pressure sensor. You got an input sensor and an output sensor, and it's checking the pressure, the difference of the pressure coming in and coming out. So if you have a lot of pressure, or if you have a mild reading from a loose clamp or something like that, then it's gonna derate the engine. It's gonna say, hey, the filter's clogged because it's having a false reading. So, what is the estimate cost of a complete fuel system overhaul? Depends on what truck. What engine? If it's a DD15, it could be costly with the filters. I'm sorry, with the pump, the injectors and everything. And if we have to do the cleaning on the fuel tanks as well. Hola, my friend. What's up, Israel? How you doing? If you guys, Sean, if you want a more accurate estimate, give us a shout. Shout out to Francisco Rocha, there's the manager or store manager in Dallas. If anybody is looking for a position, a service advisor, if you're at a service advising position now, if you're looking to move, if you're interested in something more challenging or something more rewarding, give us a shout. I would like to pass you our information, let you know what we're about. Every time I go north code, I saw no NOx sensors act up. Yeah, well, if you're getting into cold weather, what happens with a SCR system is going to depend on a higher temperature to complete the overall elimination of the NOx, if that makes sense. So if you're in a colder position, yeah, you can have NOx issues. I would see that. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's move on to the next question here. Yo, Tat, I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to tell you, keep up the great work. I'm a tech school, and I just recently started my first job, and your videos have helped me a big time. Cool, Chase. Appreciate that input, man. Good luck out there, man. Good luck out there. I'm glad you're glad we're able to inspire guys. The mechanic industry is gonna be. It's not gonna be easy. It's just like any other job. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna take a lot of patience. It's gonna take a lot of a lot of willpower, a lot of labor. But it's rewarding, guys. It's rewarding, and it's in high demand. It's a high demand. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's not gonna go anywhere, as I mentioned to you guys on Wednesday when we talked about being a diesel mechanic and if it was worth it. I'm trying to educate you guys more, and a lot of this stuff is gonna be not really do it yourself. Maybe the PMs can do it yourself, but I know a lot of times you can't even do them at your yards anymore because of the oil. Where you're gonna put it at? It's a lot of oil, 10 gallons to get rid of. I know some of you guys can't even get rid of the oil for your car. So, and shout out to, hopefully everybody's not dumping them. Don't do that. You don't get caught doing that. Anyway, but the demand's gonna be there for a long time. I talked about electronic trucks, and I talked about Cascadias, the e-Cascadia. I didn't talk about it, but I talked about a little bit about electronic trucks now, and it's crazy how it's not crazy. It's just how it's going. The problem is not for the trucks to be presented. The manufacturers do not have an issue with presenting us with electric truck. The problem is our grid. The problem is our power structure. We don't have structure in place, and the only way we can have that structure in place is if we have cooperation from the government, cooperation throughout the whole government to build that infrastructure, kind of like highways. It has to get done. I mean, it's AC to DC. It's going to be very, very challenging. And as you know, we're not known to work together, or our government is. And so, diesel engines are going to be going for a long time. What I see predicting that's going to happen, and this is going to happen. And I would say I just predict this. Okay, so EPA, I was reading EPA is going to push for emissions to go even lower. Okay, they're already zero emissions out the tailpipe. Now they wanted zero emissions coming out the engine, so that way they can eliminate any issues coming on. Going still, the engine's still producing a lot of soot. They still have people bypassing idles, so they want to eliminate the soot coming out of the engine. What we talked about, what caused soot is fuel not burning, oil burning, items like that. So what hydrogen does is what I mentioned to you before, is complete burn of the engine, and also does a cleaning. So I feel like that's going to be a solution. Hopefully, I wish I had a bigger reach or bigger backing to be able to push this harder, but I think that's going to be the solution, just because I don't feel like diesel's going to go anywhere. It's too versatile. I mean, look at you guys. You guys are already on clocks. You got to go in and fuel. It's going to take your time to fuel. And what I was reading is the E-Class, and I'll get off this because we're far from it. The power structure is not even there in the first place, as I mentioned, which takes government support. It's not going to happen. but it takes 90 minutes or something like that to recharge to 80%, and at 100% it runs at 250 miles fully loaded. That's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, that's not enough. That's not enough. So anyway, diesels aren't going anywhere. Hydro, I feel like, is going to be what's coming in, and that's what I feel like it's gonna happen. Moving on. Let's get on to the questions. Enough about that. Yo, Tad, I don't have any questions. I got that. I appreciate that, Pat. Adam, have you seen the new Gen DD15? Couple of news changes. Yeah, they didn't make too many big changes. I like the turbo. It's just a basic turbo. They got rid of the VGT style turbos on those, and it does have a blow off valve or an actuator on it, but it's a manual actuator. It's not a it's a manual actuator controlled, but the actuator is not mounted on the turbo. Basically, it's not gonna be failing as much. It's more mechanical style turbo, I would say. I like that. It looks like they made it a little bit more compact. They got rid of some of the extra stuff. So yeah, we do just PMs on them, but they haven't had any issues. Just the regular stuff, oil leaks, but I haven't seen too much after treatment issues. See a lot of chassis stuff, like tire pressure sensors and stuff like that. That's something else. What's a better engine, Cummins or DD? I would say right now Cummins has not figured it out yet. DD's kept this platform for a while. If you got a Cummins already and you're doing it strong, shout out to you. I mean, you're good. But we're talking about somebody that's just getting in the industry, and I don't want them to get a Cummins that's wore out and they're jumping into a Cummins, and Cummins parts are expensive. So I would say a DD15, but make sure to check out my other videos. Not all DD15s are great, so I would the newer, the 15s and up, or if you can find a good one, check out my other videos as I mentioned. Shout out to everybody that's online still with us. I appreciate everybody's support. I'm gonna get to everybody's question. Just want to try to pace myself before I air out here and pass out. Too much talking. But I'm having a great time. Having a great time, guys. I'm glad everybody's on. Adam, have you ever changed a chassis harness for a Volvo or a Cascadia yourself? LOL. Try to do a pain. Yes, I have. I just, what was it? Probably last year. I was working on a Volvo that had an issue with it was a communication line that I believe it was the J1939 that shorted out on the chassis, and it was chasing it down. It's really tough. Changing out any harnesses is tough. I mean, those harnesses are put on there. First, the engine harness is put on there. Okay, or first the engine is put the harness is put on the engine, and then the harness is put on the chassis, and then the truck is dropped in there. So you're having to remove that. It's very pain in the ass. What I would suggest you do, if you don't want to remove the harness completely, if you don't care about that harness, cut it. Get some wire cutters and just cut that sucker. Just cut it out, and you don't have to run it exactly like it is ran on the engine. As long as it's not rubbing on anything and it's not going to chafe anywhere, you're going to be all right. Even with some of like those major airlines that bust, those lines that bust going from the compressor down to your tank, those are a pain in the butt to take off, because as I mentioned, those lines were installed before the engine was even in there. So what I would do is what I do sometimes is run the line on top of it and call it lazy. But if you ever done that before, hey, you know what? Shout out to you if you want to take that extra time to remove all the little buckles that they put on there when it's a pain in the butt. Can an NOx sensor short out? Yes, my NOx wire melted on the back of the box. I spliced it together, and now I'm getting a low NOx. Well, if you 43 54 18, check out my video. I did a video on that's a low NOx conversion. If you have a faulty sensor, yeah, you're gonna have that fault. If there's a reason why that sensor faulted out, I would get it replaced and get those checks done. Make sure you're not having excessive buildup, and you're not having excessive buildup in your SCR system, because if you are, then that's just gonna, it's just gonna keep coming back. It's gonna keep coming back. So make sure you're checking all that out. Yep. Definitely is a pain in the butt changing that out on the wiring harness there, Transport Wiley. I believe hydrogen when I see it. Yeah, you know what? The thing is the traction. And there's just not enough people behind it. I brought that up about, I don't know why I don't even know why Tesla's not behind it. To be honest with you. Also, looking at a Volvo D13, what is your thoughts? Check out my videos is what I would mention to you on buying used trucks. Right now, it's really tricky. It's pretty much a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market for trucks right now. It is a seller's market. It's kind of like, it's worse than it's just like buying a house. Like if you're in the market for buying a house, it's not a buyer's market. It's a seller's market, meaning that the people that are selling it have an advantage because the demand for the house or the demand for the truck is high. And if the demand for the truck is high, they're going to charge, premium, and they're going to tell you, hey, it's a good truck. Twins, logistics, get a new sensor and check SCR harness for damage. Yeah, check your SCR harness for damage. Why did it melt? It shouldn't have melted, but hell, I mean, they mount the system, the sensors right on the box itself. So yeah, it could happen. CNG was supposed to be good, but that fell fault. Yeah, CNG was supposed to as well, but nobody wants to drive something that's that compressed gas or I don't know what happened with it. I don't know what happened to it. I think I don't think the power is there as well. Electric's making a lot of power, but it's just like I said, infrastructure. I think diesel is gonna keep moving, and I still don't know why hydrogen's not there. I still don't know. I'm very confused. I'm gonna have to look at it some more. Back, we haven't talked back too much about maintenance, but we're back and forth about maintenance. We're back and forth about your questions. I'm very interested in everybody's question. I want to try to get everybody. Okay, how about Paccar with SCR? Paccar is gonna have everybody's gonna have a maintenance program. Check it out. Make sure you're following it. Don't skip out any maintenance. Don't skip out. If you're looking at, I could pull up the manuals. And most of the time, what I would consider everybody is severe duty. So if you do some idling, I would consider severe duty. If you're trying to do like short hauls and stuff like that, make sure your PMs are being kept up, because you will have issues with your after treatment systems if you're not getting enough time on the road as well. That stop and go stuff is not good for your truck as well. So keep an eye on that as well. You're gonna have you're gonna have more force regions called for. YouTube has a ton of videos. Yeah, we do a bunch of videos. Here we go. Dave, Cascadia DD15 2016 is max mileage help with DPF cleaning. Is max mileage help for DPF or EGR cleaning? If there's anything that's gonna try to put in the system to clean it, that's already housed like an EGR is already built up with soot, and you're gonna add something in the system that's gonna supposedly flush that out. Like when we remove an EGR, cooler to clean it, and we put solution in it, I mean, it's a lot of soot that comes out, and sometimes it's chunks of soot. And so what I don't understand is the solutions that they're gonna put inside the intake. That's gonna go into the intake, so that's gonna cause, as I mentioned earlier, cylinders that can cause cylinder damages. And you really want to keep an eye on your cylinders conditions, because you already have chances of soot building up and causing cylinder scraping happen. And so it's just tough. I wouldn't use any kind of solutions, to be honest with you. I mean, it's tough to, once all that soot's all built up in there, it's really tough to get it all out. Got a crash early delivery tomorrow. Thank you for hooking us up. 411. I will call you in the AM and try to get an appointment. Peace. All right, 433 Trucking. Thanks for sticking with us, man. Yeah, I've been coming on a little bit later because I know you guys are more settled down at this time. But let me know what you think about these hours. I was thinking this is where a lot of you guys are actually online. Most of the time, when I see you guys come online, it's gonna be like after 6 p.m. So that's why I went this late. Sometimes 2 p.m. everybody's running around trying to get groceries. Shout out to all the drivers out there that haul that food And I heard that that the COVID vaccines are being just like prioritized, but only to a couple of fleets because not everybody's set up to be able to move it. But since J&J is coming out with this new one that doesn't gonna it's not gonna take the vaccine's not gonna take as much delicacy to move. It's gonna hit the market a little bit more harder. Not only that, but the amount of vaccines that are coming in and the stress that's already being put on the stress that's already put on the carriers that are qualified to move these loads, it's going to end up opening more market freight for you guys out there. So this is, I'm not saying, I know you guys, everybody has their opinion about vaccines. Nobody wants to take them. And, I don't know. I'm considering about taking them. I'm considering about taking it just because, it's just, you see everything that's going on out here. And I can guarantee with everybody that's viewing, somebody has some relative that has lost their life from this, awful virus. And I don't want to get too far into it, but everybody has lost somebody. I can probably say that everybody that's on here. But back to the maintenance, we already got enough. This is not a newscast, guys. Chill out. What I heard is extremely expensive to get hydrogen to the truck stops. No, I'm gonna tell you about hydrogen. And I appreciate you. Bringing this up. And this is probably why hydrogen is probably not catching on that much. But hydrogen can be done by adding it onto a truck, just like an APU, and your truck can pretty much make its own hydrogen. And that's what I like about it. So it's kind of like self-efficient. It's very self-efficient. So you're not having to add on anything besides water to make the hydrogen. And the way that it's made is so concentrated and injected. It's kind of safe, but it just takes a lot of it just takes a lot of tweaking to get the it takes a lot of tweaking to get the tunes right. So we'll have to see. I'm around 650 on the miles, thinking about delete. What do you think, Joe? Man, I don't want to suggest nobody do something that's gonna cost you an engine. At 650, if you still got power, if you're not having problems, get a filter cleaning done and do a valve adjustment and see what it does and keep moving. If you're having a system that's problematic, and then maybe you should consider it, and you don't want to keep spending money on it, and you don't want to have to replace the whole one box system, because if the DOC is clogged, as I mentioned before, the DOC is made onto the filter, which is the first part of the filter, and then the back part is the DPF. The DOC is not removable. We can't remove the DOC and get it clean. We have to actually remove the one box and clean it with air. And most of the time we got to test the pressures. As I mentioned, the differential pressures is something that needs to be monitored before you break down the filters down to this, so that you can either see if you have that much back pressure. So this is why it's important, and that's why I don't say, hey, do it yourself is going to be always that. Because not every time that DPF light that comes on, or that DOC light comes on, or it could be a DPF light or a DEF light, it doesn't always mean, hey, I got to get my filter clean. It's possible you can have a clogged up DEF pump, and you're having issues. You're not able to transfer the DEF to the SCR system. So yes, knowing how to make repairs on your own truck help. Yeah, it does. It will help. So and keeping up with your maintenance is going to keep you from having repairs as well. So keep that in mind as well. YouTube has a ton of repair videos. It does, but be cautious on your repair videos. I don't get too much in depth because I don't want you guys to damage anything. It's very easy to damage these engines. It's very easy. They might be big and strong, but once you bring them all, you break them down. If you put something wrong, you put something back together wrong, or if you leave something loose, you can cause some major damage, and I don't want anybody to do that. LOL. Be happy. Got 1.5 year these days. NOx sensors barely last 12 months. You're right. We get a lot of NOx issues, NOx problems. They're mounted right on the box. It's very hot right there, and that's why a lot of manufacturers are trying to stay with their own one boxes. Like Detroit's trying to stay with Detroit, because as I mentioned, like you talked about the chassis and the wiring harnesses on the chassis. When you have too many manufacturers assembling one vehicle, then you can have more issues with cross what it would be. It wouldn't be cross contamination, cross compatibility. So you have more compatible items working, like transmissions. That's why Detroit's making their own transmission. That's why Volvo's making their own transmission. That's why Paccar's making. I mean, they want that chain in there. Maybe nobody can make money off of it because something is too easy is cheap, huh? Well, I'm not sure. Maybe nobody can make money off of it because something is too easy is cheap. Okay. Joe Cornelius, I wouldn't delete. Philip, appreciate that input. That's an input from a probably somebody that owns a truck right there. Pat or Philip, I appreciate that. Pat, yeah, even Pat says even with the student discount, the Snap-on tools are hard to afford. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, Snap-on tools are good. I noticed Graygar's got good jacks as well. And there's not every time's got to be Snap-on. I did a video, and I want to say GC is a good brand of the high impact sockets as well. That's a good brand. And just getting your good wrenches, getting you some good strong wrenches and some impacts, keeping everything organized, a good roller cart, and just keep everything organized and rolling. Maybe nobody can make money. I think I got that already. Tell me more about the NOx sensors. 3 trips up and back to Michigan. 3 sensors are gone. Where are you getting them from? So I've noticed there's gonna be a lot of bootleg, that aren't OEM, and sometimes with everything that's going on, all this chip making is happening overseas. So I don't know if that's an issue as well, but I have problems with NOxs as well. We're swapping out NOxs not very often, but when we do get them in, most of the time we have to replace them. So what I would say is, before replacing your NOxs, and thank you for asking this, Chris, and I'm glad I didn't miss this. Before you replace your NOx sensors, and this is another DPF maintenance or an ATS maintenance tip. You have to watch the whole hour of the video to hear this, but don't always change your NOx sensors out just because they fault out. If they say, yeah, definitely I'm bad, and you hook it up and it's definitely I'm bad, then yeah, change out your NOx sensor. It's a shorted out sensor, it's melted, like you said, yeah, change out the NOx sensor. It's melted. You can definitely see that it's hanging off and by just a wire, and yeah, change it out. But if you have a low reading, don't change your NOx sensor out. You got to make sure it's nothing happening upstream, and that's what I like. That's one thing I do like about Volvo software, like when troubleshooting software, PTT, it does a test where it makes the system spike your NOx readings up and bring it down, and you basically look at it like a graph, and you're watching it and you're seeing if it's responding. Detroit does the same thing. It's called a low temp, and all you're doing is running the system with no DEF in it, and you're making sure your sensors aren't too far apart readings. And that's in my NOx video as well, my low NOx video as well. But make sure those tests are being done before NOx sensors are being replaced, because, okay, Chris, you know what? I'm glad I'm still on this subject. This could be your problem, man. It might not be your NOx sensors. What is it saying? Is it actually saying it's shorted out, Chris, or is it saying that you have a low NOx reading? Because if you have a low NOx reading, it's possibly those sensors are good and they're reading correctly, but you have too much NOx going in. You're making too much soot from the engine, and then you're going up to Michigan, so that's a run. That's a good run. Shout out to that. I used to when I had trucks, you run to Michigan and back in Wisconsin. I had an FLD with a N14 Cummins. Shout out to Mark West if he's ever watching this. Just the driver that used to drive that truck. Before him was Johnny Lanham. That was a cowboy driver. That dude he'd drive anything. But anyway, that's a good lane. That's a good lane. That's a really good lane. No mountains or anything. What's your opinion on running Lucas oil stabilizers with synthetic blend and running the Lucas fuel treatment? You know, anything that's going to cause more viscosity to your oil, as long as you're staying within your API range, there's no need for Lucas stabilizers. There's no need for it. If your fuel, if you're adding fuel additives that's going to add lubrication, yeah, I would definitely use something that's adding lubrication, because a lot of these high pressure pumps are using the fuel to lubricate the internals. So if you don't have enough lubrication going on, I would use something. And if you're in the cold, we're still on fuel treatments. And if you're in the cold, something that keeps your fuel from freezing, yeah. Oil, you know, if you're using the right oil, you shouldn't have to add any more additives, because a lot of these good oils, the API oils that are required for these after treatment trucks, they have tons of additives in them already, man. So you don't have to add anything else to it. And not only that, sometimes it's actually damaging, because as you can see, a DD15, if we're talking about a DD15 has upper dual overhead cam, and it has, shout out to the guy that didn't know ISX15 has a single overhead cam. But anyway, the rocker box is aluminum, and I'm just joking, guys. But anyway, what is it? Yes, they are. Tyrone, what you take back? The rocker box is aluminum, and the cams are steel. So if you're putting Lucas in your oil and you have a cold start, say during the wintertime, Lucas is thick. If you've ever poured Lucas out, look at it. Look how thick that is. And during the wintertime, man, when we used to put them in older trucks, and this is probably why they don't make 60 series, older 60 series. And I'm not saying all 60 series are good, but when we talked about that M14, that was a strong truck. You could rebuild that engine 3 or 4 times. You can't do that with DD15s. You can't do that with Volvo D13s. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that with these newer engines. I don't know why. You know, I guess, you know, that's whenever I saw that comment that they don't want engines that are running. You know, if everybody had a 60 series that they just could have to just keep rebuilding, that anybody could rebuild, then yeah, you know, we wouldn't have to need newer engines. But it's, the technology is too old. We can't stick with those older engines. They rattle. They rattle. If you know, I mean, they're not bad trucks. Shout out to everybody that's still in the freight shaker. I mean, but you know, these newer trucks are a lot more comfortable, especially, you know, if we were talking about driver fatigue, and I can't believe I haven't brought this up till now, but, you know, what we're talking about now, DPF maintenance, this is something that really is a very stressor for drivers, if you didn't know that, guys. One of the number one stressors for the drivers is their after treatment system, or DPF system. You know, that's crazy. It used to be safety. It used to be DOT. Now it's after treatment systems. Shout out to everybody that's still online. Hit that like button. Make sure to share. If you're traveling through the lower states and you'd like to make an appointment, give us a call, 972-225-3017. Let me get more of these. I'm thinking about getting a Cascadia DD15. I do local work, max 250. What can do a preventive after treatment system? What should I do? DPF bake annually. Follow your after treatment. Follow your maintenance intervals. As I mentioned, follow your maintenance intervals. Anything that's going to tell you on OEM's going to tell you, hey, you know what, do your oil changes at this much. Also, air dryers are very important as well. You know, you want to make sure to change out those air dryers every year. Baking and blowing the system, if it only needs, it's only calling it every 400K. If you're idling a lot, you're doing a lot of short driving, what I would suggest you're going to be doing is, okay, try not to idle as much. You know, do some highway driving as much as possible. And if it asks for a regen, don't ignore it. You're going to have to do there, and you're going to have to sit there and do a park regen. What that means is, if you don't get enough highway driving, it's going to end up building up enough soot, and it's going to calls for what is called a park regen. And look at your manual. You know, it should be the instructions to pull your visor down, how to do a park regen. Don't do it if it's not asking you to do it. If it's asking you to do it, go ahead and do it. I have over 960,000 miles on a Cummins ISX15. I'm getting antifreeze in my fuel. Is it time to rebuild? No, it'd probably just be some injector cups, you know, maybe a head. But if you keep running it, you can have some issues. How's the power? If you can afford it and you want to break all the way down into it and do the whole engine, but I mean, rebuilding the engine in chassis It's not an easy job, guys. It takes a lot of man hours, and you have to be clean. So usually when we do them, we want to make sure if it's on a liner issue, then yeah, it needs to get done. You know, if you can afford it and you got the time and you want to do a whole engine overhaul, we can do it. But if it's just, you know, some fuel going into your oil, you know, it could be an injector cup, or I believe on those you have to replace the head. So if you can get a good price on the head and keep on moving, it's possible. But that is high mileage. What I would do is drop the oil pan, check the mains. If it looks like you have some wear on the mains, then go ahead and then do the bottom end, and keep it moving. Keep it moving. Detroit got the new test now. You don't need to do low temp gen, go action after treatment, click NOx sensor verification. It's the same test, but it automatically turns to DPF. Oh, okay. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right about that. It's the same test. Yeah, you just don't have to disconnect it. They don't have to. That's an update. I'm having a little oil seepage from the rear most. Let me see here. I'm having a little oil seepage from the rear exhaust manifold bolts. Nothing serious. One mechanic said rebuild time. If it's coming from the manifold bolts, it's more than likely going to be others said exhaust manifold gaskets. If oil's coming out of your manifold, if your exhaust manifold gaskets are leaking, then yeah, you're going to see that oil coming out. More than likely it's going to be your valves, your valve seals on the head. Now, how's the power? If the power is still good, more than likely it's going to be the valve seals. Tyrone, yes, they are. I'm not sure what Tyrone asked. 2007 Freightliner Columbia, better because no DEF and stuff. It's an older model. You know, those older models, is there a reason why you want to grab that one? Is it because it's got a good price tag on it? It may have issues, man. I'm just going to let you know. That 07 is probably going to have that 60 series, that last 60 series. And I wanted to clarify that the last 60 series is kind of trash, man. And I'm sorry if I say it, you know, nothing against anybody that has that one. But honestly, I feel like it's trash because they took more metal out of the head. They started to add the VGT style turbo, and then they added a DPF filter on there. This is after the engine was designed, so the engine wasn't designed for that. It put a lot of strain on the engine. The engine sounds really trashy. Whenever you kind of go up a hill and it makes a lot of racket. Those EPA 07s 60 series, man, they make a lot of racket. Lucas is only for engines that are already falling apart. Even then, it's a bad aid for a broken bone. Right? I wouldn't add, like I said, if you're using the right oil, you shouldn't have to use. And we're talking newer engines, because some of this Lucas, I'm gonna tell you, man, Lucas can cause your oil viscosity to be thicker. So you have thicker oil, higher oil pressure, and you can have some issues with oil leaks, you know, and you don't want that. You don't want that. Doing a good job, man. Just want to say that your videos help a lot, especially when I had to change my fuel pump. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm going to do some more how-to videos and do-it-yourself videos when we get into the new shop. I'm excited about getting into that new shop, and I want to share some more info for you guys. Even though, okay, thanks, Philip. I don't know what you asked, Tyrone. Sorry I missed your question, man. I want a newer one, but here many scary stories of new trucks, man. Okay, Tyrone, if you want a new truck and you're worried about stay around models like, say, if you're getting DD15, you know, the newer models 15 and up are really good trucks. If you're getting a ISX, I would probably stay away from ISX. If you're really, you know, iffy about what truck to get, man, that's probably what I would stick with, just because even if you go with like a newer D13, I like D13. I like the D13s, but they started to try to change some things at the end, and a lot of times when you get into those D13s, a lot of the maintenance is not done on those, so you're gonna spend a lot of money on those. And you know, they look flashy and they got a lot of room, but you're gonna spend some time on that money on that maintenance. So, and as I mentioned, right now, Tyrone, you're not the only one looking for a truck, man. Everybody, and I'm not trying to say that rude, but everybody's looking for a truck right now. Truck orders are continuing to be high every month, exceed every month. So that tells you that the demand is like record breaking. I run to Michigan every week from North Carolina for 16 years. to run to Michigan from North Carolina. I'm in my '06 Columbia now because the 17 Cascadia having NOx going crazy, so it's setting up camp at Freightliner. So, Chris, where'd you get this truck from? You know, did it have maintenance history on it? Is it a brand new truck? Let me know more about that. I have a feeling, and it's coming from that dealer, and probably the same dealer you bought it from, because they probably already know that truck. Shout out to that dealer that's probably did that. Fill up, Tyrone, I would. What about the smart system? More about that. Let me know about that. You talking about Detroit smart system? Yes, Philip, you're right. iOS good. LOL 10-4 scary stories. I know those filter works as long as you clean your seventh. Good info there, and that's something that I wanted to cover in some other videos about ash cleaning. I just didn't want to share, I want to kind of make this a series about talking about after treatment systems so that we can continue to talk about more. But you're right. The seventh injector, just along with with like I said, with Volvos at 150, you're going to be actually having to replace a dozer that feeds fuel to that seventh injector, and keep those air filters, keep those air dryers replaced, guys. Don't wait too long until that sucker you can't even take it off if it does have a removable filter, and you can't even take it off and have to replace the whole housing. That's just very tough on a mechanic. Adam, when you say check bearings, what number of bearings? All of them? I would check just a couple of them, man. I mean, if you're gonna see some scarring on one or two, then that's gonna tell you you're gonna have issues on the other bearings. If you have major problem, if you have 900,000 miles and those bearings are really tore up, then and you can see copper and you got low oil pressure, then yeah, go ahead, and it's just gonna take you time to rebuild an engine. It's not gonna. That's what I'm getting to. Rebuilding engines is not like hey, let me go on here and swap a tire out. It's not happening. Where are you guys located? We're in Dallas, Texas, right in the heart of Dallas. We're just south of Dallas off of Interstate 20. So if you're coming through Dallas, coming through 20, we're right off of 20 and Interstate 45. Come check us out if you guys need any service. Call us for any appointments. And also, we are hiring at our new location, guys. We got a new shop opening up, if you didn't know. 10-4, Philip. I have ISX15 on a Volvo. It has low power and burning oil. Any insight? I mean, the last time ISX was in a Cummins or Volvo, that ISX was in a Volvo, is an older engine. That's an older truck. How many miles are on it? That's a lot of history that needs to know about that truck. Oh, and the M14 makes great power. Yeah, that's an old school truck. You're not going to be able to find parts for that thing. It's just, I'm not saying go get you an M14. It's just, if they manufactured something that was similar to that, I would probably recommend that, but they don't. But shout out to that 6.7 that Cummins made. I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of Cummins. I like Cummins. I see like head failures on Cummins happen, and as I mentioned, the after treatment, the clogging of the filters are always happening. I don't like the VGT style turbo that's always acting up, and I'm not saying it's a bad truck. Okay, it's a good, powerful truck. It's a powerful truck. Okay, shout out to everybody that has a Cummins. I'm trying to just give you, I get a lot of guys that haven't bought trucks yet, so I don't want them to buy something that's going to cost them some extra money, especially if the maintenance wasn't done. If you got somebody that's got a, ISX 15 that has a, original turbo on that, be prepared to replace that turbo when you buy that truck, Thank you all answering questions. Chris, Transport says your truck problem needs a software. Firmware came out with a new update a couple of months ago for people with DEF problems. If it has to do with readings and you're doing the test and your readings are correct and you're still having these issues and you're doing these park regions, it's possible that you could have a software update. Most of the time, if your software is up to date, it's gonna let you know when you're hooked up if you need to do a software update. So appreciate that input there, Transport. Somebody's been hooking up. Somebody's been hooking up more, which is cool. Philip, I heard a lot of people trying to get old truck too because of new one problems. I want a new one, but Tyrone, you're talking about getting an older truck. Be careful, man. It's gonna be a lot of maintenance, man. The chassis. You got to think about the chassis. How much work has that truck has been through? If it's got over 1 million miles, that chassis got over 1 million miles. The suspension needs to be replaced, pretty much completely replaced. So think about that. By the time you get an older truck, and by the time you get a truck up to road ready and ready to go, or whatever it is, I mean, you're gonna put the same amount of money that you put in a newer truck. So keep that in mind. And trust me, I bought trucks before. I bought older trucks before. I'm not trying to say hey, this is what it is. I bought older trucks, but I've been in the game for a long time. I've owned trucks for most of the time I've owned. I barely stopped running trucks. I barely stopped running trucks last year, just because I wanted to focus on the shop. But I still have trucks though. And yeah, sometimes I think about putting them back on the road, but it's just right now I need more people at the shop. I don't need it. We're not desperately needing people. Thankfully, everybody's very strong. We have a very strong team at our shop, but I would just rather focus on the shop. Yes, you're very welcome. It says here's some input from chat here. If any guys are trying to buy a truck, please make sure a lot of stuff about the truck is funny. People are saying can buy the trucks. Yeah, educate yourself as much as possible when buying a used truck, basically. And it's not just you. Everybody wants to buy a used truck. Everybody. Don't trust the dealers. Be careful with the dealers. Check out my other videos about buying a used truck. A lot of issues that can happen. Oh, okay, Philip. Kind of hate Cummins. I have paid almost $10,000 for a turbo. Yep, I told you. That's why I don't mention. I mean, I like Cummins, but I feel like they're still trying to figure it out. They don't have too much. They're doing more stuff in house. I mean, this is why if you look at Paccar, they started to build their own engine. They just we're doing everything in house. Fuck it. Excuse me. We're doing everything in house. So, it happens. It has 550K, did not delete after treatment system. Okay. I didn't get that question. Let me see. Insight. Let me see let me go back to that question. Okay, says, I have IS6 on a 15, low power, burning oil. That's 500. So it only has 570,000 miles, and it's did not delete after treatment system. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to you. You said it's a what year is that truck? ISX 15 Volvo. What year is that truck? That's pretty low mileage. That's pretty low mileage for ISX 15. Is that after original build? Is that after one build? It seems pretty low. Hold on, let me swap this up over here, man. Let me go. Here we go, so you can see what I'm looking at. Hopefully the views don't go down that you see, because we have a lot of people on. Hopefully you guys don't jump off. I had almost 70 people on. That's cool. Anyway, let's keep on moving along with these questions, guys. After treatment systems are not going away. We got to educate ourselves about these. If you're buying a used truck, check out all my videos. Educate yourself. Steady. I know it's going to be a pain in the ass, or pain in the butt, but let's get it done. Freightliner D15. I got check engine light. Pulls up ABS light in 2-second codes. Get it checked out, man. If you got a check engine light, it's letting you know that something's not reading correctly. Don't push it too much further. You can cause some more issues downstream. So True had 2 years already. 2014 DD15 code. Okay, 436418. Check out my video. I talk about kind of like step to steps on what to do on what to do when you're troubleshooting that code. So if you can't make it to our shop, try out a shop and make sure they're doing those type of tests. And that test is going to help you find out what's going on with that code. Tyrone, how much money you have to pay with them, then decide you want to use the truck or not. Hey, bro, I just want to pay Freightliner Classic. I just want to pay a Freightliner, buy a Classic. Oh, that's an old Classic. Yeah, I remember those old Classics. They were really nice, like a boat. Really nice trucks you can just lay back in those Classics XL with a 60 series pre-emission. That was back in the day. I'm not saying go out there and get a pre-emissions right now, because right now I'm telling you, We bought a pre-emissions engine from Capital Reman, which out in Colorado. Guys, do not use those guys, and they just sold us crap. And the only reason why we chanced it because the damage was so much on the engine that we were rebuilding that it was going to be cheaper to buy from them. And I knew that we couldn't get some good parts. I knew you can't get good 60 series parts. You can't even get good 60 series injectors from the manufacturer. There's no way you can get good. I mean, the heads are hard to get. So what I'm basically trying to get to is don't go off and get you an old engine thinking you're going to be okay because the parts aren't available, guys. It's not like it's used to be back in the day. Okay, True Transport, thank you. Okay, I'm buying a 2017 Cascadia through my company. Okay, I had 398,000 when I got it. Has 403 on it now. Just started NOx problems. Okay, so you're right around where the PMs need to get done. So you need to get the after treatment system cleaned. You got to get what I would suggest you do is go ahead and get an ash cleaning, which is going to be cleaning out your intake sensor, your DPF differential pressure sensor, and your EGR differential pressure sensor, and also looking on the hot side of the EGR cooler and looking to see if you have any excessive buildup, excessive soot. If you have excessive soot buildup, then you got to get all that cleaned up and make sure you're. I know it sounds like a lot, but get that code checked out. Make sure what the code is, and guess we'll go from there. If you're having low NOx, it's just. But what I'm suggesting is at that mileage is when you're gonna have to get those PMs done. Check out Cascadia, Detroit. You can go online. You can go on my website and get your PM intervals done, or get them. When you're actually needing them done, and they're gonna tell you right at 300, 400K. So you're right there. And if they didn't do it at 300K before they sold it to you, that's just right before then those intervals happen. And that's something that I see a lot happen with fleets. They sell the trucks, and I'm not Chris, and I'm not saying they probably did this intentionally, but this is practice that I see. This is a high practice that I see when people sell trucks to other individuals from fleets that either came from a dealer, and they give credit for these fleet trucks for resale value, and then they sell them off. Or your company here did the same. I'm not trying to say it's bad, but just keep an eye on. It's one of the sensors for the ABS broken. Had an update when the second NOx was put out. Okay, so you've had issues already. Have you had the filters clean? I don't mean to jump to conclusions, but I just if it seems like a very problematic and is repeating problem, then it's possible that maintenance was not done. The fleets I talk to now strictly new trucks only. They won't even touch used trucks now because old trucks are a little bit harder, or not harder, but parts and we service all units at our shop, but when we get an older truck in, some of the times it is easier to find if it's a mechanical issue. But if it has high mileage and high crankcase pressure, it's already losing power, or any electrical problems on the chassis is something that. But other than that, I wouldn't say they're that hard to work on. But they're just my truck. It's the same. But thanks, Transport's original engine. Lots of fleets now just buy new trucks and give them back under 50K. Yeah, that's what I mentioned in some of my other videos. Just watch a video would help out people believe. I've been watching his videos, and I'm working on trucks now. Hey, cool. Appreciate that. They trying to cut old trucks out, 60 series, 14-liter, man. That 14-liter is, I want to say that's at EPA 07, man. I'm not a big fan of that one, man. That is everybody online, guys. I am very excited that everybody joined us this evening. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I am pretty beat. I've been already for 1 hour and a half. I appreciate everybody that's came on this evening. I'm going to come on again. We're going to be talking more about after treatment systems. I appreciate everybody's questions. Guys, give me a comment down below if you want us, what other topics you want to cover during these lives. I'm going to get a delete video together, guys. I know I've been mentioning to you guys about this delete, but I'm going to start working on that this week so that I can educate you guys more on why it's tough to kind of avoid these cheap deletes and why you need to be avoiding these cheap deletes. I appreciate everybody that just came on this evening. Again, if you got any questions, you got any concerns, you can call us at 972-225-3017. If you want to schedule a shop appointment, I'm sorry if we can't get everybody's questions answered on the phone, but if you want to schedule an appointment, give us a call. If you're traveling through the lower states, we're located right now at 116 South Interstate 45 Service Road here in Dallas, in Hutchins, which is just south of Dallas, but we're moving to 4140 Langdon Road, Dallas, Texas 75141. I'm sorry, 75241, guys. Sorry about that. We still got chat just live here. Everybody's still trying to ask questions. I'm going to be back on, guys, probably Wednesday evening again. So if you guys got some more questions for me, let's get those questions out to me. And if you want to, as I mentioned, if you want to schedule an appointment to the shop, stop by the shop, info@tatexpressinc.com. Shout out to everybody that's come by the shop. I hope we were able to meet or exceed your expectations. Everybody be safe and make sure to be considerate of others. And I'll see you guys next time.